Kalimera Pedia. I want to do a quick video today to share a little story of how I relocated here to Greece and how my thought process of living in this beautiful country became a reality against all odds. And I think that when we move to a new country, I think that there's a lot of research that has to be in place, of course, especially if you have a family, and especially if you're going to move the way I moved from the UK here to Greece with a newborn child. Obviously, my wife being Greek is one of the main factors of why I relocated here to Greece. But at the same time, it was me pushing that idea to my wife, because my wife, as you know, she was living in the UK. That's where I met her. And like many Greeks, she actually left Greece in search of a better life. And I do air quotes because that is, debatable, depending on the individual and what exactly is it that you want from life. So my wife went to England to study, and that's when we met. Well, we met after she finished her studies. She came back to Greece, tried to find a job, and obviously that didn't happen. She couldn't find a job either in the UK, and she found herself in a situation like many Greeks, with a diploma or pursuing a career that she was not really passionate about. But this video is not about my wife, but this is one of the things that led me to meeting her, really, because when she came to Greece with a diploma or with a degree or whatever, and she was not happy with where her life was going, she decided to go back to England to just have a go, like just getting a job in anything. And anyways, just a job in anything. Maybe the qualifications that she had, she couldn't find a job because of lack of experience and all of this and all of that, but she started to work, right? And something that's completely unrelatable to her degree and to her career. And that's when we met, which I'm forever grateful for that, because without that sequence of events, I wouldn't have met her. Okay, so at that point in her life, she just wanted to get a life, really, and she was very young. Okay, I'm talking about 20 years old, very, very young. I mean, when I met her, she was 22, 23 maybe, and I was 25 or 26 years old. I'm going to be 50 next year. So when I met her, it's the first time that I met a Greek person. Right? And then I met her flatmates in England, and very quickly I was surrounded by Greeks. That's when my Greek lifestyle, I guess, started. And I'm in this flat living in England. I've just arrived in England, by the way, as well. As soon as I arrived in England, I met her very, very quickly. And I'm in a house with flatmates, just surrounded by Greeks, talking in Greek. I didn't understand absolutely anything. I was just fascinated about Greece. And from that point on, the only thing, at that moment when I met my wife, the only thing I knew about Greece is probably the same things that you know about Greece, or the very basics things about Greece, Greek mythology, and probably the Acropolis, and that was about it. Maybe Santorini, the Greek islands, but nothing else really. I did not know much about Greece, okay? Even though we did study things about Greek mythology in school in Venezuela, where I come from, I did not know much about Greece. And we got together very, very quickly. My circle of friends in England was pretty much Greek. Where I was working, I knew one or two Greeks really, but my circle of friends really outside of work in England, it was all fully Greek. And I would spend a lot of time listening to Greek conversations and all of this, and try to learn the language. And obviously my wife being Greek, I will listen to her conversations with my future mother-in-law back in the day when she will make phone calls and all of this. Crazy to think that this is way before social media and even Zoom calls or messengers and WhatsApp and all of that. Anyways, to cut the story short, I came to Greece the very first time, like in 2002 or 3, I don't remember, it's a little bit blurry. I think it's 2003 maybe. We went to Milos, the Greek island, Milos, beautiful island for a couple, by the way. And this is where I fell in love with Greece, because I arrived at the Athens airport, and I went to Elefsina. That's where my wife is from. We arrived late at night. I've told this story before, but I arrived late at night, and as I am driving, or as I were taking the taxi to go to Elefsina, so we can, touch base there and then go to Milos, I realized that it reminded me quite a lot. There was something in the air. The vibes were very similar to Venezuela, very similar to South America, where I grew up. And I know there's no comparison, but there was just something in the air that really attracted me about Greece. And you have to think that the drive from the Athens airport to Elefsina, it's nothing very, very special, to be honest. I don't remember if we went through the old road though. Okay, this is 2003, so I don't know, I don't remember, but it was a strange drive. We arrived in Elefsina late at night, and we arrived to the cafeteria of my mother-in-law and my father-in-law. And when I met them, I felt like, wow, I feel like I'm at home. It was a strange feeling because living in the UK, when I left Venezuela and I went to the States, and just to do odd jobs and gather some money to go to England, which was my dream. My dream was to live in England, okay? Because I was born in London. I'm Venezuelan, but I was born in London and I grew up in Venezuela. So my dream growing up was always to go back to London, the place of my birth. I've told this story before as well. So for me, living in England already and having a Greek girlfriend, I was just like, that's it. What else do I want out of life? But when I came to Greece, that's when pretty much my plans kind of like changed a little bit. Because my wife, at the time, she was my girlfriend, but she did not want to come back to Greece. I mean, she didn't express this to me, but it was not in our plans. It was just like, we live in England, we both have met in England, we're both foreigners in England, in London, and it's kind of like a middle ground for us. So we're trying to figure out this thing called life, and this is where we're going to stay for now. And we lived in London for many, many years, but when I came first here to Greece, in that first encounter with my mother-in-law and my father-in-law in the cafeteria, and then being in Elefsina for a little bit, and then going to the Greek islands, I just said like, wow, man, this is, can somebody live like this, right? And I know you might be thinking, if you're Greek and you're probably watching this, you might be thinking like, oh, he's just a daydreamer. Greece has a lot of difficulties and it's a poor country, blah, blah, blah. I've heard the whole stories, but I come from a poor country myself. In fact, it's much more in decadence, or it's much more a difficult life in Venezuela than here in Greece, especially for the last 25, 30 years. But to cut the story short, I felt really, I felt like in a special place here in Greece. And yes, I was seduced by the Greek island. Milos was really, really an amazing island. So much so that when we got married, actually a few years later, we went back to Milos to stay for a whole month for our honeymoon. That's how much we loved it. And over the years I came to Greece, from England, while we were living our life in England. My wife and I had a full life in England, and but as time went by, and the few times that we came here to Greece for holidays, like Greeks do, right, for summer holidays or whatever, I realized that we want something else out of life. And you have to think that for me as a person, I had already achieved my life dream, which was to live in London, because that was my goal since I was growing up. Like, I want to go back to the place of my birth and I want to get a life there. So there was no reason for me to come to Greece. And as soon as we got married and we were expecting our first daughter, Fedra, she was born in England, in London as well. And as soon as that happened, we were already like thinking, and I was telling my wife, I was convincing her, like, we certainly want to go to Greece, because I want her to I want my daughter to grow up with the values of the Greek culture, because I can see that they're very similar to my values as a Venezuelan, and this means quite a lot to me. There was a lot of things that happened between taking that decision or having that daydream and then becoming a reality to be here where I'm at today. But it was a dream that I had, and it's a dream that I had to sell that to my wife and try to convince her. She was not 100% negative about it, but she was very apprehensive, like most Greeks are, when it comes down to moving back to Greece, especially when you're in such a young age and you have found yourself like, okay, I managed to leave Greece. I actually have a life outside of Greece. I have a job, right? Why will on earth I would want to go back to Greece, right? And we did it. The plan was definitely not the right plan. We did not have everything in place, and being a father, being a parents for the first time, we went through a lot, man. In 2010, so we moved here in 2010 from the UK in the midst of the Greek crisis. Newlywed. I mean, we got married after 9 years of being together. Okay, so our relationship was very, very strong, and so by the time we got married and we had our first child, we were already an established home. But we did have a life on our own for a long, long time, and we managed to have a home in England. So it was very hard for us to give that up. And when we came here to Greece, it was a culture shock for both of us, and especially for my wife, because she was now back home for her, and for me, I'm just a foreigner. I'm still a foreigner in a strange country, even though I feel at home. From day one when I came here to Greece, still is a foreign country to me. I was still learning Greek. The job that I had that was prepared for me did not really work out. Anyways, a lot of things happened. I became a stay-at-home dad, ups and downs here in Greece, as you know, and fast forward to today, you see these beautiful videos that I make here from this beautiful location where I'm at. But it has not always been like this. I've only been living here in Nafplio for the last 4 years. We're going now for 5 years very, very soon. And we moved here in the midst of the pandemic. So I lived 10 years in Elefsina after relocating from the UK. So, a lot of important years in Elefsina, I gotta say. And funny enough, I'm wearing a Greek shirt, right? I'm like a tourist. This is unprepared, by the way. I was not gonna make a video today. But anyways, what I wanna say is that if you wanna do anything in life, really, if you've been thinking about doing anything, moving to Greece or moving to anywhere, what's gonna determine that decision is not me convincing you, it's about you having that dream already. Okay, and for me, it has always been a dream to come here, the same way that I had a dream to go to England at some point. And it has been that pull, that strange thing, and here I am doing these videos talking about Greece, which I never thought I would do. Anyways, guys, I hope this video finds you well. Thank you so much for watching this video. I don't even know how to title this video. This is just a vlog. My daughter's just coming back from school, and Τι έγινε, αγάπη μου?
Γεια σου, μπαμπά.
You didn't have a good day?
Χαίρετε.
Γιατί είσαι grumpy?
Ένα κοριτσάκι που έδωσε τη βεντάλια και το κοριτσάκι το πέταξε.
Άμα. Έλα να πεις ένα γεια. Έλα,
Ελληνικό.
Δεν θέλεις? Δεν θέλει. Λοιπόν, παιδιά, τα λέμε μετά.